Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I am Mahesh Daas, Chair and ACSA Distinguished Professor of Architecture at Ball State University. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the third dialogue this year in the series of conversations about leadership. In this program, we feature prominent leaders in the discipline of architecture who have risen to become what James MacGregor Burns once called transformational leaders. Leadership is not a job. It is not a position in an organization. Leaders are different from managers, said Harvard Business School professor Abraham Zalaznick. Leaders transcend the day-to-day transactions of the organization and embrace the problems facing the larger world. Transformational leaders help us achieve a higher level of motivation, meaning, and morality. Normally in schools of architecture, we feature professionals who present their design work. But seldom do we hear about their life. What kinds of events and people shape them in their path to become leaders, not only in the discipline, but also in the society? What are the qualities and inner struggles that contributed to their becoming a leader? This is a freewheeling dialogue about the life of leaders, particularly the aesthetic leaders, such as the guests featured in this series of conversations. Today, we are delighted and proud to be joined by a very special individual, architect Debra Kunce, an alumna of our department. She graduated with a Bachelor of Architecture degree in 1993. Debra has received much recognition. She has recently been elevated to AIA College of Fellows and was recognized by Midwest Construction as one of the top 20 young professionals in 2011. AIA Indiana awarded Deb with 2010 Edward D. Pierre Award. Please help me extend a very warm Ball State welcome to architect Debra Kunce.
I'm the oldest of 8. I do have a twin sister, and she is a computer programmer, so she's in the design world as well, interestingly enough. And farming taught you hard work. You have to be an expert in many different areas to be a farmer. It is very much of a generalist profession, and we find architecture that way as well, that you have to know a lot of things about many things. And so there are more parallels than you think. Set aside the basis, which is hard work, learning responsibility, and learning that things don't get done by themselves. You have to take initiative to make things happen, and it doesn't happen by yourself. That it takes a team of people, even in farming, it takes a team of people to make things successful. I thought I wanted to be an architect since I was in 8th grade, and I jokingly blame Mike Brady because on the Brady Bunch, he never went to the office and he went on great vacations. So I must have thought it was a fabulous profession to be part of. And yet, since I knew when I was in 8th grade I wanted to be an architect, I'm from Central Illinois, and so everyone in Central Illinois went to the University of Illinois. That's where you went to school. And so I naturally assumed that I would go to the University of Illinois. And I don't want to give disparaging comments about University of Illinois. It's a great program. Yet I found when I went there, they had a different attitude than Ball State had. Their attitude was, we don't have to take you. Mm-hmm. And I was struck because it was really the first time that I think I had experienced that kind of reaction, that premier elitist reaction. And yet I had a mentor, a teacher, who introduced me to Ball State. I had never heard of Ball State, and her daughter was interested in the program as well. And we came over. It was a very welcoming atmosphere. They helped me figure out a way to come here, even being out of state, through scholarships and other mechanisms. And I think that I very much felt part of a collective spirit, and that was a real draw for me. And so I maybe did the best, what I thought at the time was the best of both worlds. I got accepted to the University of Illinois and turned them down and felt good about it, and came to Ball State because it was a better fit culturally for what the kind of program that I was after. I do remember some times in studio, and I was one of those students that spent a lot of time in studio, and there were a small core of us that did. You know, when you spend that many hours together, you really do learn what makes them tick. And we had a couple of students who were just crazy competitive, and I'm sure they are to this date. And they would compete over everything. They would compete how fast they could run up and down the stairs. They would compete. One particular night, they wanted to see who could eat more jalapenos than the other one. I mean, it was just, it didn't matter what, and they competed for design as well. And yet we were colleagues, but that just, again, I think that is very, you know, appropriate to what happens in practice today. One day you're a competitor, and the next day you're a teammate.
Right.
And there are so many architectural firms that now are recognizing the value of teaming up on a project, bringing expertise together, and those experiences, believe it or not, do teach you something about how you can be competitive one moment and you can be on the same team and work toward a common goal in the next month. Or you could be in your own community and you may be joining together to make some positive results happen. Well, I've always said that the skills that we learn in the College of Architecture are about problem-solving skills. And while I value licensure, and I think every student coming out of the college should get their license, I recognize that we can do so much more in influencing our communities than just in traditional design. And so, you know, I look back at my time in the college, and I remember taking an econ class, and when I got done with the econ class, the professor approached me and the department approached me and wanted me to get a major in economics. And I thought it was crazy at the time because I was in architecture and that was where my focus was. You know, and I look back at that and I think I was crazy for not doing that at the time, because everything we do in architecture is economically driven. The economy drives us. And every day we're dealing with economic issues. And you know, that's how short-sighted sometimes we can be when we're solely focused on architecture only. And yet the reality is we touch every aspect of lives. And so, you know, my recommendation is get involved outside of architecture, whether that's in business, economics, you know, other design programs, engineering, because you don't work individually, you work as a team. Students are coming out and doing much more than traditional architecture. I mean, many are even going into video game design because there is obviously an architecture component to that as well. It's about design. It's about taking something from an idea to something tangible. And I think, you know, we are clearly trained in that. I think I shared with you an example of I think there were probably 100 people listed who were trained as architects, who are not practicing architecture, and they are leaders across, you know, internationally. So there are many people trained as architects who are not doing architecture, and it's interesting to me because those are our clients. And wouldn't it be grand to have a client who appreciates architecture, who was trained in architecture, who knows it, who can make a difference? Use every opportunity, make connections, because those connections will pay off. Even the connections that you make in studio. As I said earlier, you know, one of my friends who was in urban planning, she was one of my clients within the first 5 years that I was out of school. So they become your clients at times, and they become your teammates at other times. And then sometimes they're your competitors. But we can all be collegial. And that's what AIA, the umbrella of AIA also allows that collegiality to happen within a professional environment. I hire for communication skills, I hire for initiative, and I hire someone who is engaging. I can teach you the technical side of being an architect. I can't, if you don't have those communication, that ability to talk to somebody, have a dialogue with somebody, those are skills that you learn along the way and are less teachable. And so I hire less for technical skills than I do all the other soft skills, because I find that the technical skills will come with time.
We really appreciate your coming back to the university and talking to us and teaching all of us things about leadership, and we wish you all the very best. Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you
Very much.